Hi, welcome to this dynamic practice. It's called palm springs, and it has less to do with the location and more to do with a sense of springiness with our hands on the floor. So we are working on several practices up to and including a handstand. It's a sort of a handstand movement that involves cross-functional lines, and the idea is to sort of start and land softly and find the springiness of our practice. But handstands are not necessary for today. What is necessary? Have a block and a strap at the ready, and if you can't do squat either without a prop or just sitting on a block, you can always do a lot of the squat work we're doing sitting in a chair. So just kind of have that in your mind. And if you're going to work on handstands, have some wall space. I only need about this much space here, just in case you are too ambitious in your palm springiness. The wall will be there so you don't fall over into a back bend. All right, great. So let's start on the back, and we're going to start face up with our double butterfly practices. So your feet are flat on the floor and hands underneath your head. So from there, you're going to take your elbows and knees out to the side and down. You're pressing toward the floor. Arch your back, squeeze your shoulder blades together. All that's on your inhale. And as you exhale, squeeze your elbows together, squeeze your knees together, and pin your low back into the floor as you lift your head and shoulders, like an old-fashioned crunch. So go back and forth like this. This is back body squeezing as you inhale, and front body squeezing as you exhale. So go back and forth like this several times. Start to mobilize back, mobilize hips, mobilize shoulders. And breathe in and out through nose if you can, into your abdominals. Another time or two here. Okay, so the next time you inhale, lower to the floor. We're now taking our arms in goalpost position. Feet can go mat's distance apart, so the knees are still bent. Every exhale, you're going to relax to this spot. And as you inhale, reach an arm back. You're going to drop the same side knee inward, and again, arch your spine. So this is getting the side body rather well. You breathe into that side. Exhale, return to where you started. And you repeat that on the other side. Knee drops in, arm reaches back. Also arch your spine, that's your in-breath. Breathe into the stretch, and exhale, come back to center. Go back and forth like this a few times. And you might notice that one side feels a little bit tighter than the other. Notice that. And as you reach your fingertips back, it's like you're trying to send the hand back so the palm gets as long as you can get it. So fingers long, palms are long. We'll be doing some palm stretches later, but you might actually get a sense of length here already just by reaching your fingertips back as far as you can. Okay. Great, and you come back to center, you can keep your arms in goalpost position. Step your legs together, and please take your left thigh on top of your right. So you're crossing your thighs as if you're in a narrow chair. And as you inhale, you're going to reach your right arm back, drop your knees to the left, and arch your spine. So now we're incorporating a twist. This is your in-breath. Exhale, you come back to center. Repeat the same side a few times. So breathe into your right side. Knees drop to left, breathe into the stretch, exhale, you come back to center. And see if you can get forearm stretch, palm stretch. Can you get that length in your arm on inhale, and then allow your hand to recoil on exhale. Okay, great. And one last time on the right side, take a deep breath in, right arm reaches back. And as you exhale, come back to center and unlace your legs, and then we'll relace them. Right thigh on top of left. Cross your thighs as if they're in a narrow chair. And every exhale, you're going to relax back to this spot. As you inhale, reach your left fingers back, drop your knees to the right, and arch your spine. So we're incorporating a twist here on the left now. Exhale, you you return to where you started and repeat this on the left side, fingers way back. Breathe. Exhale. So of course this could be a hip stretch. This is a twist. You're also back bending a little here, so you might feel a nice stretch in the abdomen or side body. And also notice as you slide your fingers back, see if you can get a hand stretch, a palm stretch through the wrist, maybe forearm stretch through that very active lengthening through your fingertips. And we'll do this twice more. Take a deep breath in. Big exhale. And one last time. Take a deep breath in. Okay. Great. And then from there you release and unlace your legs, feet flat on the floor, hands next to hips, like by your sides, with the palms facing up. And what I'd like you to do is press your right foot down, lift your right hip. The left leg can more or less stay where it is. But you're going to press your right foot down, lift the hip, and then to squeeze your back body, you're going to slide your right fingers as far down your mat as you can. So if you hit your foot, you can either choose to go to the outside of the foot or to the inside of the foot, whatever works for your shoulder. But this is going to be, so now you're descending the shoulder blades, squeezing your back body. And then as you exhale, come back to center, and you try that on the other side. So now you press your left foot down, lift just the left hip. So now your left glute's working for you, your low back. You can arch your back here a little. And you're sliding your fingers as far down the mat, as far past your foot as you can. And that's a big, it's a big stretch for the front. It's a big engagement for the back body. And you go back and forth like this a few times. I recommend taking this a little bit more slowly so you can engage your back body more. If this happens too fast, maybe 80% of it engages. But if you really focus and inhale a little bit more, try to reach a little further, you'll feel, at least I do, sometimes on one side, a couple hesitant muscles finally get on board with the movement. And so if we are going to be springy today in handstands with our arms on the floor, it's nice to have as many of these muscles participating as you can. So you go back and forth like this another few times. Okay, great. And once you're done with your second side, come back to center, notice what you can notice. My hope is like a whole bunch of back body sensations are arriving. We're going to flip over, lie belly down. I'm changing orientations, you don't have to. And you get the cross functional here. Your belly's lying down and you're going to reach your arms forward. You can point your toes back, arms reach forward, and your head you can look down, you can look slightly forward, just make sure you're not arching your neck too much. So it should feel like a neutral neck, and that's going to be used for the handstand practice. So neutral neck, and then from here you're going to lift one arm and the opposite leg, and here's the cross functional from fingertip to toes. And as you exhale, you lower down, and we're going to cross functional work the other side. So opposite arm lifts, diagonal leg. Exhale as you come back down. So go back and forth like this. So it's like one stroke of the letter X as you inhale, you lower down as you exhale, and the other stroke of the X lifts as you inhale, exhale, come back down. Go back and forth like this. And so this is shoulder blade movement. This is hip movement. It's not a lot of torso movement. So like my spine more or less retains its shape. Okay. So we're now distinguishing between the limbs moving and the torso staying still. All right, there's one more diagonal for you there. Exhale, you come back to center, lie face up. All right, and take a deep breath in. Big exhale. And then from here, the last satya practice we're going to be doing is the arching of the spine on inhale. So now this is movement of the spine, and exhale, press your low back into the floor. And go back and forth like this a couple times. And what this does is highlight the movement in the torso itself. And eventually we're going to be combining those two. But from here, this is a lot of torso movement that might involve, as you arch your back, sliding both shoulder blades away from your ears. So you see how the arms and the hips can really be applied toward torso movement. So in the first moment, it was exclusively like the limbs were moving. On this one, the hip muscles, the shoulder muscles are still moving, but now this is a lot of torso movement, so the spine gets involved. Yeah, so one last time, arch your back, reach both sets of fingers down, and exhale from there, release. Okay, nice. So please take your block underneath your hips. I'm going to demonstrate at the mid-level. You can go higher or lower than that. And have it so that I usually take the block wide, so it supports the SI joints, so my ilia are supported by the block. Okay, so we're up. We're going to take Supta Pada 1, and that is the strap goes around your right foot up in the air. So big hamstring stretch. To start our practice today, you're going to press the heel up, open your toes. All right, and so the quads are working, you're pressing the heel up. You can either stay here with your left foot flat on the floor. If it makes sense, you can start sliding your left heel forward, and you might extend the leg somewhat, you might extend it a significant amount, you might extend it all the way. With your hips elevated, that's my hope is there's also a stretch in your left hip, the front side of the left hip, as well as whatever stretch you're getting on your right leg. So several times here. Breathe in and out through nose. Have your legs do some good work. Head stays relaxed. And 2 more breaths here. Okay, great. And then you can release your right foot flat to the floor. All right, left foot to the floor. Take a breath here. Let the tissues relax back toward softening. And then let's try that on the other side. Left foot into strap. And you're going to press the heel up toward the ceiling. Quad is engaged. Front of your shins are engaged. Toe extensors are engaged. And that all helps stretch the sole of the foot, the calf, and your hamstring. So left heel up toward the ceiling. You can keep your right foot where it is. If you'd like to extend it somewhat forward, you could. If you'd like to extend it all the way forward, you could. Anywhere in between is fine. But in addition to any stretch you're getting in the left leg, the backside, especially if you're extending your right heel forward, this also might be a release for the tissues around your hip pointer. So it might be quad, some abdominals, maybe psoas. Breathe here a few times. All right, and one last time, take a deep breath in. Okay, and then from there, you release both feet to the floor. You can place the strap by your side. All right, and allow the tissues to reconfigure. Blood enters the legs, blood enters the hips. And then you engage your glutes, press your feet down to lift your hips, block out of the way, lower to the floor. You can take knees into chest. That will round the spine a little bit, and that's perfectly fine. You can stay here, breathe into your low back. If you'd like to take a happy baby pose, you can do that. If this feels like it's too much, especially for the beginning of a practice, stick with your knees into chest. Otherwise, if you're in happy baby, you draw your knees down, you take your toes back a little. All right, and breathe into low back. Couple times here. All right, very good. And exhale, you release. And let's come up to seated. All right, and so we'll take a cross-legged fold. I'm gonna mirror you. So this is my left shin in front, but you're gonna take your right shin in front of your left. And so you're mirroring me. And you're gonna slide your sitting bones back as far as you can. And reach your arms forward. So we're rounding the spine again. As you slide your fingers forward, breathe into your back body. Okay. Now to get a little bit more stretch in the palms, you can pin your thumbs into the floor, and it's like you're stretching the rest of the hand away from your thumbs. So if you're on carpet, that might be less effective, but if you have a hardwood floor and your hands are, if you don't have like lotion on your hands, you can get a little bit of stickiness into the floor. Spread the rest of your fingers away from the thumbs, and that can give you a little bit more thumb stretch. So there's 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale. Big exhale. And one last time. Big exhale. Okay, and then arrive up. From here, you lengthen through the navel. You're gonna roll your navel to the right. And then you're gonna fold to your right. Your front hand, your left hand's gonna slide out to the side as far as you can. And as you're reaching your fingers to the right, breathe into your left low back. If you're doing a good job with the hand slide, your left hips also might lift. Burrow your left sitting bone into the floor. That'll give you more low back stretch. And breathe here another 2 or 3 times. Okay, great. And then from there, you release, allow those tissues to come back to where they were, to restore a little, and switch legs. So now your left thigh will be in front of right, sitting bones, slide them back, and then you exhale, reach your fingers forward. Okay, you're breathing the back body, so all this work for legs, hips, low back, all that's good. You can also send the thumbs into the ground and spread your fingers away from the thumbs and away from one another. As you're reaching forward, you can keep your knuckles into the floor. Also, press your fingerprints into the floor. So it's like fingerprints in the floor, knuckles in the floor, thumbprints in the floor. So there's some activity in your hands. All right. So hands are active and stretching. 2 more times here. Take a deep breath in. Take a big exhale. And one last time. Take a deep breath in. Okay. Great, and then you come back up from there. From here, you're gonna roll your navel to the left. Okay, and then you're gonna take your right hand, slide it out to the left as far as you can. And the more you're sliding to the left, the more stretch you're gonna get on your right side. Please breathe into your right. Okay, so there's a big lateral stretch. We're also twisting quite a bit here. If you're doing a good job reaching to the side, the right hip tends to want to lift, so you burrow the right sitting bone down, and that should give you a little more stretch in your low back. And you can breathe into that a few times here. Okay. Nice, and then as you come back up, enjoy the recoiling, the returning of your tissues to where they started. All right, and then from here, let's come to hands and knees. And you can point the toes, curl the toes under, step back toward the heels. And if you can do that, but you still need your hands on the floor, again, spread your fingers. And because we're up, I'd like you to press because we're sitting up a little higher, you can be over your hands a little more. So when you spread your thumbs and your fingers and press your knuckles down, press your fingerprints into the floor as well. When you lift your wrists off the floor, it becomes less of a wrist bend and more of a stretch through the palms, which, the hands also need to be strong, but flexible hands really result in a springiness for all the postures that we're going to do with our hands on the floor. So fingers spread, thumbs spread, and then knuckles down, lift your wrists. And there's 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale. Take a big exhale. And one last time. Okay, great. And then from there you can come forward, wiggle your toes around, move your ankles around. Okay, and then from hands and knees, you're now going to we can do one hand at a time. But I want to get a palm stretch, really focus on it. And so option number 1, I'm going to start with my right hand, is so you're going to turn your fingers out to the side. And option number 1 is to get a stretch like that. So more or less what we did previously, just with the hands oriented in a different way. Okay, so the fingers are out to the side, knuckles down, palm lifts. Option number 2, if you can turn your fingers back toward your knees, this is going to give a more dramatic stretch through the palmar fascia, and see once again that my wrists aren't on the floor, that really is less of a wrist bend and more of a palm stretch. So my fingerprints are all pressing into the floor, that means my fingers are active, my knuckles are pressing into the floor, and I'm peeling my wrist up. If you'd like to, you can take your other hand, your free hand, and press into the fingers a little. That gives a sharper contrast to the stretch as well. Okay? But we're going to pause here, another couple breaths. Okay, and you can get out of this by pressing your free hand into the floor, and as quickly as you can, make a fist. A whole bunch of blood and sensation come back into that. And after making a fist, you can wiggle your fingers around. I also like to give a manual massage with the opposite thumb and really bring some blood and sensation back into the hand we just stretched out. Okay? Yeah, and then before we do the other side, you can kind of notice the difference between the hand that we just stretched a ton and the one we're about to. It might feel like the hand feels a little, there's more blood in there, there's more sensation. Just feels a little bit, hopefully, if you take your hands on the floor, the side you worked on feels a little bit springy, like you have more options. So then let's try that on the other side. You're going to turn your left fingers, well, I'm going to turn my left fingers, turn your second fingers out to the side. Option number 1 is where you keep your knuckles on the floor and you lift your palms up toward the ceiling. So this is not unlike what we did previous. Okay. Option number 2, and this is more intense for the wrist and the palm, just make sure it's okay for your wrist bones. The fingers point toward your knees. You are still pressing your fingerprints down, so the hand is active as well as getting a stretch. So fingerprints press into the mat, your knuckles press into the mat. Option number 3, if you take your free hand and also press your fingers into the floor, that will highlight the stretch even more. Okay, so one hand might be different than the other, so you might need a different option, or this side might feel easier to do or more difficult to do. Just go to where you can go. Listen to feedback. Make sure it's not too intense. And there's another couple breaths here. All right, great. And then from there, you release and make a fist as quickly as you can. That brings a whole bunch of sensation back into the hand. And after holding a fist for a breath or two, you can then use your other thumb to massage, sometimes in between the wrist bones. Between the palm bones, the metacarpals, and the fingers themselves. All right, great. And then from here, so we're going to give the hands a break and get into squat. So we're going to be here for probably about 2 minutes. So option number 1 is you do this sans prop, you're here. Option number 2, if you like to sit on the block, any height, you can also do the things we're doing on a chair as well. Okay, but this is just to warm up the hips and the twists a little. So the first thing we're gonna do is take the elbows into inner thighs. And as you inhale, thighs go out to the sides. Arch your back, lift your lungs up, that's on inhale. And then exhale, you squeeze your legs into your arms and round your spine. So go back and forth like this several times. Inhale, you press the knees wide, arch your back. Exhale, squeeze the knees together, round your back. Go back and forth like this a few times. Okay, very good. And then on your next exhale, you can take your hands onto the floor, arch your back a little bit, draw your shoulder blades away from your ears. So you feel your back body engage. That's your in breath. One arm out to the side, and then exhale, you twist to that side. So go back and forth like this at the pacing of your inhales. I usually inhale in the middle, exhale as I twist. And you go back and forth like this a few times. Okay, so you start on one side, and with your second side. And then once you come back to the center, inhale, you can press your hands into the floor. Activate your hands like you're pressing down to come out of your squat. If you're sitting on a chair, you're just standing forward folded in front of your chair. And you press your hands down and feel the springiness that your hands, like when your hands have options on the floor, that's what makes them springy. So you press your fingerprints into the floor, you press your knuckle prints into the floor, like the whole palm is not just splat down. There's almost like an arch in your palm, the same way we have arches in our feet. Okay? And then you can turn toward the front of your mat, hands plant onto the mat, and step your feet back into downward facing dog. All right, so first big downward facing dog of the day. So lift your thighs, press the heels back, do all that good stuff with your feet, with your legs. But notice you can feel some extra springiness. So the fingers are active. There's a little curve in the fingers because the knuckles are down, and you're also pressing your fingerprints into the floor. So that gets your both finger flexors. Sets of finger flexors working for you. Okay? That also helps create a little bit of almost like a hollow in the palm. So there's an arch in the palm. So that the hands are less splat on the floor and they're more springy. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale. Take a big exhale. Inhale one last time. Breath in. Okay, and then bend your knees. Step up to the top of the mat. Transfer all the weight into your feet. And you can look forward. Squeeze the muscles in your low back. Draw your shoulder blades into the back. Really feel the muscles on your back body work. And then exhale, you can refold. We now come all the way up to standing. Arms sweep up overhead. Feel your back body engage as you lift your palms up. Take a huge inhale here. Exhale, palms come through heart center and by your sides. We're going to take sun salutation A with the focus on the hands and how the firmament on the floor can also feel very springy. So arms sweep up overhead. Take a huge inhale here. You bend your knees a little bit. Pubic bone slides back as you forward fold. All right, now inhale, look forward. Plant your hands and make sure your elbows they can be straight, just make them unlocked. And press your fingerprints into the floor, press your knuckle prints into the floor, and step back into plank position for a breath or 2. And feel springy here. So bend and extend your arms a little bit. Make sure your elbows are unlocked, so your hands are unlocked. Take a deep breath in. From here, exhale, you can lower halfway down or all the way down. And you're going to lift up into cobra or upward facing dog. So you draw your shoulder blades into the back. Keep the springiness of your hands as you lift your sitting bones into downward facing dog. All right, very good. So 2 breaths here. Take an inhale. Take a big exhale. Take a deep breath in. And then exhale, bend your knees. You can step up to the top of the mat. Weight into the feet. Inhale, look forward, arch your back as you inhale. Exhale as you fold. And then arms sweep up overhead. Feel the back body engage as you reach all the way up, 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 up. Exhale, palms come to heart center by your sides. 1 more sun salutation A. Take a deep breath in. Bend your knees, forward fold. And then inhale, you lengthen, transfer weight into your hands. Notice the springiness of your hands and your arms as you step back into plank. Pause there, experiment with the springiness. Drive it down, should feel rather dynamic. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale, you lower halfway or all the way down. Tops of feet on the floor. Inhale, back body engages into cobra or upward facing dog. Feel the springiness of your hands as you lift your thighs back into downward facing dog. And there's 2 breaths here again. Take an inhale, take a big exhale, and one last time. Okay, great. And then you can bend your knees, step up to the top of the mat. Inhale with the weight onto the feet, arch your back, look forward, and then as you exhale, refold. And inhale, come all the way up, back body engages as you lift. Keep your arms up, and you're gonna sit down into chair pose. So you drive your feet in through the floor, upper thighs down. Squeeze your back body like both sides of cross-functional lines working. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, fold. Once again, hands planted. Take a deep breath in. Weight transfers in the hands. Keep your palms kind of springy and arms buoyant as you step or float back into plank position. Take an inhale here. Exhale, lower halfway down or all the way down. Draw your back body in to lift your lungs forward and up. And exhale, thighs lift you back into downward facing dog. Take an inhale here, and then exhale, right foot steps forward between your hands. The back heel presses down into the ground. So you turn your back toes out a little. So the heel's pressing down. And then from here, you're gonna use your back body to come all the way up into warrior one. So inhale, notice the squeezing of the back body. So it's very much of a torso bend, torso movement there. And then as you exhale, hands plant, go back into plank position. Inhale, feel springy in arms and shoulders. Lower halfway down or all the way down. Inhale into upward facing dog. And thighs lift you back into downward facing dog. Let's try that sequence on the other side. Your next exhale, left foot forward in between your hands. Back heel plants, and keep that heel driven down into the floor. And feel the torso change shape as you reach your arms up, draw your shoulder blades into the back, arching the back a little bit, lifting your lungs a lot. And there's 2 breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. In warrior one last time. Take a deep breath in, exhale, hands plant. Feel springy in your arms as you go back into plank position. Exhale as you lower halfway down or all the way down. Inhale into cobra or upward facing dog, and thighs lift you into downward facing dog. 2 breaths here in our downward facing dog. Take an inhale, take a big exhale, and one last time. Take a deep breath in. Okay, and then exhale, step up to the top of your mat. Once your feet take all the weight, arch your back, look forward, squeeze your shoulder blades in a little. Exhale, you re-round. And then from there, you can drop your thighs down, lift your lungs up into chair pose. Take a huge inhale here. And then you press your hips forward and come up. All right, very nice. From here, right foot stays forward, left foot goes back. We're gonna take a lunge. So now our back heel is up. And this is basically the leg position that we're gonna use in the final form of our handstands. So the heel presses back, draw your shoulder blades in. If you'd like, you can lift your hands off the ground, arch your back a little bit, and then press your palms forward, like this. So imagine if you were in a handstand, this is a form that we're gonna use. So here's a lunge, 2 more breaths here. You can press your palms forward, lift your navel just off thigh if you can. Take a deep breath in. Okay, and then hands can come down to the floor, step up, and let's switch sides. So now we're in the lunge with the right heel back. Press the heel back, send your knees forward. So the hips are going in way opposite directions. All right, from here, if you like, hands off the floor. I did that already. You're gonna draw the navel in a little bit, and you're gonna press the palms forward. You can imagine if you were in handstand, the hands would be into the floor, heel pressing away from the floor. There's 2 breaths here. Take a big inhale, take a big exhale, and one last time. Okay, great. Hands to the floor, step up, and inhale, come part way up, arch your back a little. Exhale as you refold, Inhale, come all the way up to standing. All the way up, all the way up, all the way up. And exhale from there to heart center and by your sides. Okay, so let's come into a squat. And option number one here is, because I do want to feel springy in, so we worked on the springiness of hands, the shoulders. I want to feel the springiness in the legs a little bit as well. So find a comfortable squat where you can feel dynamic, okay? So there's this dynamicism in there where we can move around, okay? Sit a little bit lower if you can. And if this feels okay, stay here. But to get a little more dynamic and bouncy with the feet, you can try to stay in your squat as you take a couple jumps. So now this is ankle work, knee work, hip work, all at once. So you're jumping up, trying to land in the same position as you started in, and the knees are bent the whole time. So there's a springiness in the legs. Okay, great. So come back up, and that's option number one. You can either A, do that again, or from here, I'm turning to the side so you can see where I'm going. You're going to jump, and then hands plant back into plank position. Keep the arms buoyant. So now the arms are bouncy, springy, and now the legs are springy. You jump up, arms springy, torso springy, legs springy. Torso springy, arms springy. So you jump up, there's some springiness in the torso. So try this a few more times. And the idea is that as powerful as this is, there's a sense of like springiness and lightness to the whole thing. Okay. Great. All right. Well, so let's take a little bit of a break, because that's a lot of cardio, at least for me. Wide leg forward fold next, please. You're gonna bend your knees. Take your hands down. All right, and so the wide-legged forward fold, if your hands feel well prepared for handstands or some handstand variations, you can stay here. An option here in wide-legged forward fold is to get a palmar fascia stretch here as well. So you can spread your fingers, spread your thumbs wide, and as your knuckles press down, the palms lift up. So you drive your feet down, lift your inner thighs, of course some hamstring length. And there's a few more breaths here. If you like to take any other variation of wide-legged forward fold, go ahead. So whatever works best for you. This is just an option to get extra stretch in the palms. So a few more breaths. Okay, great. And from there, you can add some springiness to the legs, bend your knees a little bit, drive your feet through the floor, hands to hips, and squeeze your back body to come all the way up to standing. Great, and then we're up at the top of the mat. We're gonna take a pyramid to revolve triangle. So have a block at the ready, and the right foot's gonna be forward, left foot steps back. You bend the front knee, feel the springiness of the legs, pubic bone back, heart forward. You can take your left hand to the block, to the floor. And so we'll pause here in pyramid as a pose here. So you drive your front foot into the floor and feel your ability for the strength to be in the legs, but there's still buoyancy there. It's like you still have some options. So the feet are pressing down to the floor, but it doesn't feel rigid. Like if there's all strength and no grace, it just feels rigid. So to add a little bit of like gracefulness to the pyramid. You can forward fold as much as you'd like. 2 more times. Take a deep breath in. Big exhale. And one last time. Okay, and then to get into revolved triangle, you arch your back, lengthen your lungs forward a little. Right arm reaches out to the right, and you're going to roll your navel past your thigh as far as you can. Okay, so you squeeze your back body. This is back cross functional. From the right arm to the left leg, the back leg. So you're squeezing the back cross functional, opening the belly, open heart center. And breathe into the twist another time or two here. Okay, great. And then you can deep rotate, look at the floor, bend your front knee again for that buoyancy. And you drive your feet through the floor, come all the way up to standing. And you can step up to the top of your mat, switch sides. I'm changing orientation. You don't have to. You can just step your right foot back. So now the left leg's the front leg. You're going to bend your front knee, turn your hips toward the front toes, and then pubic bone back, heart forward into a Parsvottanasana. Pyramid pose here. So your right hand is on the block, is on the floor. All right. And again, the back heel's driving down, front foot's driving down. This should feel like you're not stuck here. If you can find some sort of like levity, some buoyancy, some springiness in the legs. Go ahead and do that. Feet remain firmly planted. You can round your spine. We'll pause here in pyramid, 2 more breaths. Okay, and then to get into revolved triangle, you're gonna arch your back, lungs go forward, left arm out to the left. That's your in breath. Exhale, roll your navel past your front thigh up toward the ceiling. And as you reach up, so it's now cross-functional from the top arm to the back leg. So you're squeezing that cross-functional, opening up the heart center. Breathe into the twist. There's another few breaths here. Okay, great. And then from there you can de-rotate. Bend your front knee a little bit and drive your feet through the floor to come all the way up. All right, and then you step up. Okay, great. So hopefully that was a little bit of a break for the palms. So here's where we get into a couple potential handstand variations. And this starts with the hands just on the floor. And you see how I'm going to one side. And my hands, I'm going to plant them. This doesn't, the geometry doesn't have to be exact, but it's like an equilateral triangle between my hands and one foot. From there, I add weight onto my hands. I push down, and so there's going to be a springiness as I lift this foot and push down. And now I'm forming an equilateral triangle with my other foot. So you can go back and forth like this a few times. Now the idea is all 3 kind of major body parts are springy. The arms are springy, the torso is springy, and our legs are springy as well. To get that initial lift, just drive your hands through the floor without locking them. So you press, and there's a little bit of levity in the torso. Okay, so that's option number 1. Option number 2, you might want some wall space with this one because it's using more back body, which means the hips are going to lift higher, and I don't want anyone to fall over, like roll out of this if you're not prepared for that. So I'll demonstrate with my wall space here. Is you still take that same triangle, but instead of making like a low lift, you're actually going to arch your torso, and then you land the other foot down. So it's hard for me to demonstrate and talk at the same time. But you see how there's still that like triangle here, and I'm switching from one foot to the other foot. And that's all, it's springiness in my arms, and it's also this, it's like a really interesting, really inclusive in terms of musculature. You were using a lot of muscles all at once, but it's cross-functional work there. So you see how that is basically just a stronger version, like a higher torso version of this work. Don't be concerned with getting the legs up. This is really about that torso, that like springiness. So try one of these a couple more times. All right. Okay, and then release. And I'm demonstrating this in Virasana. You can even stand while you take your fists. Make thumbs up, okay? And then you're gonna cap your thumbs over your first finger, if you can. Some people can, some people cannot. And then from there, it's like you're taking your knuckles into your ribs, and this gives a stretch on the other side of the wrist, the back of our hand, without bending the wrist too much. So this is actually for the back of the hands more than it is for the wrists themselves. If it works for you, you could also bend the wrists like that. I mean, I like doing that a little bit, but I think for me, this helps relieve the wrist without a severe bend in the wrist. And you're really working with the connective tissue. So, if this doesn't work with you, and we'll be doing this once again after our last handstand variation. Okay. And then the way to come out of that is just you lift your elbows and release. Okay. Great. So there's now one more option in our kind of little handstand workshop here. So you can go back to that press and lift, press and lift. You can lift the hips higher and use more back cross functional against the wall. If you'd like, the third variation we're going to do today is you're lifting, I'm still making the triangle, but now the other leg is lifting up, and the idea is you're gonna lift, scissor in the air, and land your other foot down. So you lift, scissor, down. Lift, scissor, down. Okay, so try that zero times. If you wanna try that like 4 times per side. The idea is to try to land as springy as possible. And all this springy effort actually means you land like more quietly. So if you can try to land silently, that means more muscles will be engaged. You'll actually feel that. It's like harder, it's harder to land silently. Okay, nice. And then from there, release. Again, I'm sitting in Virasana, or you can do the standing, or however else you want to do this. But you make a thumbs up, bend your fingers as much as you can, thumbs cap, and you take that as a respite for all the hand work we did. All right. Nice, so take a couple more breaths here. So that is a lot of back and cross functional work. We're gonna take a couple of forward folds and do one more strength practice for our psoas and for our inner legs. So you release, you can make a couple of wrist circles, open, close hands. And let's come to seated on your mat. And please take your right leg straight, left foot into inner thigh. And you're gonna arch your back, roll your navel to the right, fold down your right leg. Okay, so in Janu Shirshasana, you can press the heel forward. You can round your spine as much as you'd like. We were doing a lot of extension in the spine. So flexion helps stretch out those erector muscles. So take a few breaths here. Okay, great. And then make your way back up, extend your left leg forward, right foot comes in for Janu Shirshasana on the other side. It's a bit of a length. Roll your navel to the left, fold down your left leg. Okay, and as your heart rate comes back down from that big handstand practice, you can probably take slower yet deeper inhales and exhales. Another couple breaths here. Okay, great. And then you come back up, right leg forward again. This time Marichyasana A. You're going to take the left foot onto the floor, and with the knee bent, arch your back, twist to the right. You can fold down your right leg like this, hold anywhere down your leg. For those who are able to bind, you can use a strap. But if you are able to clasp your fingers behind you, for me, that little bit of tension also feels like a nice counter to the handstand practice. So if you can't clasp your hands behind you, finger to finger, you can always use a strap to bridge the gap. So strap if you'd like, but we're folding forward. You can breathe into your back body. Another couple breaths here. Okay, great. And then make your way back up. Extend your left leg forward, right foot on the floor, hands to the inside of the leg. You can hold thigh, shin, foot, however you'd like to do that. Okay, and you forward fold like this. If it's available, either with a strap or without a strap, you would wrap your right arm around, interlace your fingers like this. And that little bit of tension in the wrists, like literal tension, like a stretching of the bones, like a tractioning almost, that might feel good for people's wrists. And of course, if you can't do that, finger to finger, you use a strap to bridge the gap. So the bind is an option for some. Breathe into your low back. Another few breaths here. All right, very nice. And then inhale, come up, both legs extend forward, Paschimottanasana. You arch your back, exhale, you fold. And if you can take hands to shins, that's fine, holding big toe mounds. Another way to take your palms opposite here is if you're more flexible, you take your palms to the soles of your feet. Okay. But don't stress out the low back to get that done. This is just fine. Okay, yeah. Breathe into the low back. Twice more. Okay, great. So you arch your back, draw your shoulder blades into the back, you lengthen up through the front side of the spine. And the idea is to keep this side of the spine as long as you can make it as you come back onto your elbows. Now, you can look up, you can look back, you can look at your knees, move your head around however you'd like. But what I'd like to do is arch the back here as best we can. If you're not arching the back, the entire sacrum is on the floor. So this is like my low back not working, my back body not working at all. If I can get the cross functionals to work, I arch. Now my arching is happening, my shoulder blades are drawing in, and now there's stability in the spine. So if this feels like enough work for you, you can stay here. Option number 2 is to lift your feet up off the floor. And if this feels like enough work for you, you stay there. Option number 3, I'm going through these fast because this is going to get hot real quick, but you're going to extend your legs forward. This is an option, you can stay here. Option number 4, if you'd like to cross one thigh on top of the other and then separate the legs, and then you switch sides. So it's separate, squeeze your legs, separate, squeeze legs, separate, squeeze legs, separate, squeeze legs. And as your hips are moving, your torso is remaining absolutely still as best you can. So your low back is working. Yeah, legs nice and strong. You can sort of pass through options. We have another 15 seconds here. So squeeze your shoulder blades in, squeeze your low back in. And torso remains nice and solid as the legs can bounce around. Couple more scissors. Okay, great. And then you come back to center and up from there. All right, good. So that's good, both back and front body work. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, we're now going to lie on the back. And instead of back bend, we're now rounding the spine. So you're going to pin your low back into the floor. So now this is more cross-functional. Hands can support the head. And from here, you're going to lift your legs up in the air. Okay? This is option number 1, where you're just pausing here. If it's available, you're going to twist and bring your elbows to the right. And your right leg stays up, your left leg goes down. And then you inhale, bring everything back into the center. Now elbows go to the left and take your right leg down. Inhale as you come back to the center. Go back and forth like this. And this is handing off our ventral and core lines to the front cross-functional lines. So this is, of course, I didn't want to do this before all of our other practices because I didn't want this to be worn out. I usually exhale into the twist. Inhale into the midline. So elbows are going to the side. And the side you're going to, that leg stays up. The other leg goes forward. Keep your low back pinned into the floor. Another couple times per side. Okay, and once you're back in the middle, you can release, pause there. All right, so I think between those two practices, there's a little bit more heat in the body. Take a deep breath in the abdomen and exhale. Okay, so let's see if we can incorporate this heat. Find your strap. We're going to take the straight-legged twist, Supta Padangusthasana 3. So let's all lie on our left side. And you're going to take the strap, so we're on our left side, strap goes around the top foot, the right foot. And you're going to take the loop around the sole of the foot. And so just, might be a hamstring stretch here. Both hands hold the strap to begin. Bottom leg also extends along the mat. So we're here, both legs extended. Bottom hand reaches as far down as you can. And then just like we did from pyramid to revolved triangle, you're going to arch your back here. Top arm reaches up, arch your back, and then exhale, roll your navel to the right as far as you can. Reach your arm out to the right. Okay, so we've just heated up the torso quite a bit, and now we're stretching out and wringing it out. And for me, that really feels like incorporating the warmth that we've generated into our connective tissue. And I do that through the power of the legs and also by the breathing. So we'll be here another 30 seconds or so. Okay, very nice. Take a deep breath in. Okay, and as you exhale, you can release the strap. Come back to center, and before getting to the other side, pause in the middle. And feel the connective tissues come back and return. So there's always this sense of returning. Okay, and then let's try the other side, please. I'm going to change orientation. You don't have to. And we're all going to take our left foot into the strap, left foot out in front. Okay, so Supta 3. The idea is for the legs to work, and when the legs work, you actually get more, at least I do, more stretch in the torso. So because a lot of leg work, you press both heels out, and then you're going to reach as far down as you can with your bottom hand. Hold the strap close to the foot, and as you inhale, arch your back. Reach your top arm up toward the ceiling. That's your inhale. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale, roll your navel to the left. Reach your arm out to the left. Okay, so we have a straight-legged twist here. You keep the legs nice and strong. And then this wringing out of the torso, breathe into it. So if this feels like a lot of stretch, great. If it doesn't, enjoy the space you're creating with the breath. Enjoy the motion of the fluid body, the lymph and the blood moving around the torso. Not everyone needs to stretch in their yoga practice. So some people can focus really on the movement of fluid body. Okay, legs stay strong. Breath stays inquisitive. Another 30 seconds here. All right. Very nice. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, you release back to center, feet on the floor, hips in the middle. Pause and notice the return. After we add some tension, then it's the release of the tension back into middle. From here, you can lift your hips and block those underneath hips again. And your feet can stay in this relaxed bridge pose, or if you'd like, you can take feet together, knees wide. And this is to help release all of the abdominal work we did and the core work that we did. So you breathe into abdomen, relax the legs as best as you can. Another 30 seconds. All right, nice. And then you place your feet flat on the floor, engage your glutes a little to support your sacrum as you lift your hips, lower them down, block out of the way. All right, and then extend one leg forward, extend your other leg forward into a final relaxation. So you're softening down, settling into Shavasana. If you need to add layers or anything, go ahead and do that. And really feel the weight of the body. So a lot of that springiness that we worked on, it's really about sort of like strength and ease combined. And now after doing a lot of strong practices, we really get a chance to explore that softness, the warmth that we've created and infused into the cells of our system. we can now relax. So we can relax molecularly, soften down toward the floor. And even with the body relaxing, the mind tends to wander and drift off. We can sort of keep our mind springy, in a sense. Not necessarily that we're bouncing around, but that there's both a stability and an ease in our attention. So you can notice what's happening in your body, but of course I'm talking, there might be other sounds in your room or coming from outside of your room. And you can notice all of that without quite letting go of the primary introspective point of our final relaxation. So try that for a couple minutes. A focus on the inside, but not so rigid that an outside sound distracts you. It's just another sound. It's just another experience. So yeah, try that for the next moment. Okay. Very good. So from here you can start taking some intuitive movements as you take some deeper inhales, exhales. Get reacquainted with all the movements of your body. Move your arms, move your legs, move your torso around. And then from here, please draw one knee into your chest. Give your knee a good hug, sweep a breath across your low back. And then switch your legs. Other knee draws in. Breathe across your low back. And then draw both knees in. Take a deep breath here. And then roll over to one side. Pause there for a moment. And then on your next inhale, you can make your way up to seated. All right. Right, yeah, and then notice the legs are able to settle down. There's a gentle breeze through the spine. The arms feel relaxed. Great. So thank you. I hope this springy practice was both a fun challenge, but also a great way to release and relax for you. Thank you so much for your practice. Namaste.